Today is December 2nd, 2023. The time is 11:24 a.m. The title of this video is Zionism, the Fulfillment of a Divine Promise, Durban 1, September 2001. This video was inspired by Elon Musk's visit to Kfar Oz, Israel. And I'm going to start with what I derived from Elon Musk's name. The word El comes from a root word meaning might, strength, power, and probably derived from Ugaritic term for God, such as Elohim. And I'm bringing you to this article. Musk tours Gaza border kibbutz with prime minister says no choice but for Israel to destroy Hamas. And it was this article that I read that started me on my journey to where we're going on this story. And what's interesting about this particular article is this paragraph. Musk also visited the home of the Iden family and heard the story of Israeli-American toddler Abigail Iden, 4, who was kidnapped to Gaza and was released yesterday as part of a hostage deal. Both her parents were killed while her 2 siblings survived by hiding for 14 hours until help arrived. My question, why did it take the Israeli Defense Force 14 hours to rescue 2 children? Kfar Oz has a population of approximately 765 people. This is the size of Kfar Aza. Another survivor that lived in Kfar Aza said that she was in her safe room with her children for 18 hours. And she said the soundtrack that she heard was all we hear is shooting, red coat alerts, and bombing. A red coat alert, or Teza Edam, is an early warning radar system originally installed by the Israeli Defense Forces in several towns surrounding the Gaza Strip to warn civilians of imminent attacks by rockets, usually Qassam rockets. Why did it take the Israeli Defense Force 18 to 14 hours to rescue survivors in Kfar Oz? And here begins our journey, comparing 911 in North America with the terrorist attack in Israel on October 7th, 2023. Israeli Ambassador Gilad Erdan calls Hamas attack on Israel truly unprecedented. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare. We're going to say, well, what are they comparing to come up with this statement? This is our 9/11. In September of 2001, the United Nations was challenging the existence of Israel by labeling Zionism as racism. In this article right here, Israel's ambassador to UN goes biblical during the meeting with Security Council. In this particular article, Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, said the 4 pillars of Israel's existence are the Bible, history, international law, and the pursuit of international peace and security, in that order. On September of 2001, the pillars, the international community was challenging Israel's existence by calling by this conference on racism. World Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Related Intolerances. Now, notice the date, August 31st through September 7th, 2001. And this conference was held 4 years later from the 31st of August to September 7th, 2001, in Durban, South Africa. Elon Musk is a South African. So is Nelson Mandela. So, what happened at this World Conference on Against Racism? Well, at this World Conference Against Racism, NGO or non government organization forum created a declaration. And in the declaration, for Palestinians and Palestine, it says here they wanted also called for the reinstitution of UN Resolution 3379, determining the practices of Zionism as racist practices. So here's what the United Nations elimination of all forms of racial discrimination. It says Resolution 3379. The General Assembly, recalling its Resolution 1904 of December 20th, 1963, proclaiming the United Nations Declaration on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, and in particular its affirmation that any doctrine of racial differentiation or superiority is scientifically false, morally condemnable, socially unjust, and dangerous, and its expression of alarm at the manifestation of racial discrimination still in evidence in some areas of the world. But then we're going to skip all the way down, and what the determination in this was is that Zionism is a form of racism and racial discrimination. The 41st President of the United States, George Bush, on June 29th, 1990, stated this: I have today signed SJ Resolution 246, a joint resolution of Congress calling upon the United Nations to repeal General Assembly Resolution 3379, which declared Zionism to be a form of racism and racial discrimination. SJ Resolution 246 requests the President to report periodically to the Congress on progress made to repeal the resolution. So, the President of the United States was working to repeal a resolution that said that Zionism is racism. In September of 2001, Zionism, the, the, the order or the resolution that George W. Bush, 41, had advocated or to have it repealed was now being considered. So Israel's existence was being challenged by challenging by for it, Israel's existence was being challenged by challenging Zionism. Also called for the reinstitution of UN Resolution 3379, determining the practices of Zionism as racist practices. And as we see here, the determination that Zionism is a form of racism and racial discrimination. Zionism is a Jewish nationalist movement that has had at its goal the creation and support of a Jewish national state in Palestine. So Zionism is a Jewish nationalist movement. It is separate from Judaism, the religion. This is a movement. Zionism is a movement. Lionel Walter Rothschild, the second Baron Rothschild. It says he was born on February 8th, 1886, and he died August 27th, 1937, was a British banker, politician, zoologist, and soldier who was a member of the Rothschild family. As a Zionist leader, he was presented with the Balfour Declaration, which pledged British support for a Jewish national home in Palestine. Rothschild was the president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews from 1925 to 1926. And this is from Welcome to the Rothschild's Archive website. Walter Rothschild and the Balfour Declaration. Lionel Walter Rothschild was the Lord Rothschild to whom Balfour addressed his 1917 proposal regarding the establishment of a Jewish state. And it's important to note that the Balfour Agreement became the diplomatic foundation stone of the State of Israel. And this is what the Balfour letter stated. It says, Foreign Office, November 2nd, 1917. Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you on behalf of His Majesty's government the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object. It being clearly it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours truly, Arthur James Balfour. Now, please note, it says here that the Balfour Agreement became the diplomatic foundation stones of the State of Israel. So we talked in the beginning how Israel has four pillars of existence: the Bible, history, international law, and the pursuit of international peace and security, and in that order. So anybody talking about the existence of Israel and they challenge Zionism as being racism, then we have a problem. Israel has a problem. If UN Resolution 3379 becomes law, then Israel's existence is in jeopardy because Israel is the creation of Zionism. The Zionist Jewish nationalist movement that has had as its goal the creation and support of a Jewish national state in Palestine, the ancient homeland of the Jews. The Balfour Agreement became the diplomatic foundation, and that's important because this is the work of the Zionists. This is the desire of the Zionists. And then you can see how here's the Times of Israel. UN set to commemorate controversial Durban conference with 31 states boycotted. The United Nations General Assembly was set Wednesday to hold a commemoration event for the 20th anniversary of the controversial UN World Conference Against Racism in Durban, South Africa, which was accused of veering into open anti Semitism. The first Durban conference, held from August 31st to September 8th, 2001, just days before the terror attacks of September 11th, was marked by deep division on the issue of anti Semitism, colonialism, and slavery. The U.S. and the U.S. and Israel walked out of the conference in protest at the tone of the meeting, including over plans to include in the final text condemnation of Zionism as a form of racism, a provision that was eventually dropped. But do you see the dates? September 11th? The the Durban conference was held between August 31st and September 8th, 2001, and they wanted to include Zionism as a form of racism. The Balfour Agreement became the diplomatic foundation of the foundation stone of the state of Israel. The origins of the letter had begun in the early 20th century when Chaim Weizmann, the leading spokesman for Zionism in Britain, began to solicit support among the British people. So if Zionism is attacked, the foundation of Israel is attacked. So we move on. And as you can see, the sentiments, we must call for an end to Durbanism. And now here we move forward to October 7th, 2023. And what we have here is the United, let's read it. It says here that, well, UNGA adopts resolution calling for ICJ opinion on Judea and Samaria. Well, this is the International Court of Justice. And this is what it's saying here. On January 1st, 2023, the United Nations General Assembly on Friday passed a resolution calling on the International Court of Justice to render urgently an advisory opinion on Israel's prolonged occupation, settlement, and annexation of Palestinian territories. Here we have the pillars of Israel's existence being challenged by the international law. The United Nations. They're challenging Israel's existence by saying that Zionism is a form of racism. And here we have the International Court of Justice being asked to make a decision about it. The Jewish, and this is what Netanyahu had to say. He said, the Jewish people is not occupying its land and is not occupying its eternal capital, Jerusalem. The UN resolution can distort this historical truth. Let me start all over. No UN resolution can distort this historical truth, says the Israeli Prime Minister. Nelson Mandela was also from South South Africa. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it right there.